Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the 25 Days, 25 Gripes podcast mini-series, in which we cover annoying ass people and their annoying ass habits this current holiday season. And today we're talking about slang and made up words and the downward trend of the English language as we know it. I'm your host, Mr. P. Now, my gripes on this particular issue date back to probably middle school, because that's when it's usually fashionable to just start inventing words. My disdain for this partially comes from me being a very literal person. I was always more of an English history person in school rather than math and science. You can imagine the first time I heard somebody use the word dead ass, I was dumbfounded, the word dead ass. I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Your ass is dead. Did it have any children it left behind? A will? Any money? Did it at least have a funeral or a viewing? And like the town I grew up in too, geographically, it's pretty much in the sticks, the boonies, but it's unique because it's also equal proximity to Philadelphia, New York City, and New Jersey. And I grew up with a lot of the kids from those areas, so you can imagine it was just a melting pot of made up words. And I've even heard kids argue over the origins of these words. Like, nah, man, John is a Philly term. Versus the other person going, nah, man, it's totally a Jersey term. As if there's some sort of badge of honor for which region in the tri state area can have the most amount of fictional dialogue. I'm also just listening to this thinking, John? Who the fuck is John? Jonathan? And what cracks me up too is just that people assume because they have terminology where they were from, they expect you to just assimilate to it once they move to your region. I remember the first time I heard somebody refer to a hot dog as a glizzy. I heard it at first. I'm like, "Just call it a jizzy? A what?" Until about like the third time he said it, and then he looked at me like I was the idiot. And he goes, "Oh, sorry, that's just, it's what we call them in New York." Are we in New York at the moment, asshole? Of course, I didn't say that to him because I didn't want him to make me into a ball of clay, but you can get the picture. I'm sure another part of this too is that I'm just a cranky old man in a young person's body. And I say that because it's usually people in my age demographic that just pull words out of their ass the most, I find. I'm in the healthy, dementia free 18 to 34 age demographic, but we could probably demote 18 down to like the 12-year-old age bracket for the purpose of this exercise. I think another element to this that fuels my rage is that when people use slang, it's just pure laziness to not pronounce an entire word, or assuming that everybody should live in your bubble of just made up words, and that if you don't know what they're talking about, you're the asshole. Like when people say, like, they're talking about hanging out with somebody, and it was just a totally cash experience. It was so fun. It's just so cash. You mean casual. Casual. Or just like, oh, bro, it was alright. It wasn't that bad. It was mid. What? Like Newport mids, like the fucking cigarettes? You can just say it was alright or it was mediocre, even if it was medium. But don't just make up your own goddamn Webster's dictionary on the spot. Or maybe you just want to be different. Maybe you just want to be special and stand out from the crowd and be different. I'm unique because I make my own words. I brainstorm them while listening to Billie Eilish on Spotify. I don't know why that's my stand out from the crowd voice, but you know where I'm going with this. I've also heard before too that, oh, you just think like that because you have a big vocabulary and you just want to sound intelligent. First of all, I'm not intelligent, so we don't have to pretend. There's nobody to impress. We can just pull back the curtains. And secondly, it's less about trying to sound intelligent and more so just about not wanting to sound like a fucking idiot. I guess my last sort of gripe within the gripe, so to speak, is people just randomly forming nicknames for themselves that get more out of hand over time to the point kids are just full on changing their names. Of course, you always get those people that are like, whoa, well, let kids just be known as whatever they want. Let them change their names to whatever they want. It's like, yes, that is true. They can do that. But also just know, on the flip side of that, there's a reasonable expectation that lowlifes such as myself will point fun at it. Two examples that I have of this. One was a few years ago at a college party in which just one kid there. He was super tall. Now, mind you, I'm roughly like 6'3" ish, give or take, so I'm no Danny DeVito. God bless him and all he's done. But this kid's probably like 6'5", 6'6", and he had his hair in a man bun, which was the first indication that I knew he was a tool. Actually, no, I don't even know if it was a man bun. It was like more of a cross between like a man bun and a ponytail. We'll call it a man tail. So he introduces himself and goes, I'm so and so, but you could just call me Too Tall. Everyone calls me Too Tall. And I told him, I was like, I'm not calling you that. Your name is so and so because I don't need to be asking you for a beer at 1 a.m. talking about, hey, Too Tall, where's my shock top? To his credit, though, he laughed and we proceeded as normal. The second story was during a class in college senior year, and it was the first few days where everyone sort of introduces themselves. Usually, that's the time where the teacher will say, when they're going through roll for the first time, if anyone goes by a variation of their birth name, just stop me and let me know. So naturally, there were a couple of John from Jonathan's or Nick's from Nicholas's. Then we get to this one fucking kid at the end of the alphabet. My name is Robert, but everybody calls me Trey. No, they fucking don't. I guarantee you no more than 4 people in your immediate life refer to you as Trey, and that's because you asked them to. So when it got to be my turn to introduce myself, and given that my only purpose in life is to just be a nuisance, of course I had to go, oh, well, my name is so and so, but you could call me Brad Pitt. And nobody laughed, but that didn't deter me from leaving my mark and disrupting the current status quo within, I don't know, what was it, a fucking 50-minute class? Of how people abuse the English language. Thank you for joining me on this December 2nd episode, our second day of griping during the holiday season. In tomorrow's episode, we will be discussing astrology. Are people who trust them as fate really just witch doctors? We hope you tune in with us then, and as always, if you're liking what I'm spewing, please like and subscribe.